Release the Kraken!
Welcome back, fellow game designers. Ron here at Lame Duck Studios, and we are going to continue on with our elf. The last one, I'll go ahead and uncheck Stimulate here. Stop. The last one, we went ahead and added in our walk cycle. Got that done. And now it's time to make him do all those things in Unreal. So walking and idling. Once we do that, we'll do some jumping, because jumping's fun. Alright, so inside of our animation here, I'm going to go ahead and right click, and I'm actually going to make a new folder. Add new folder. I'll call this animation BP for animation blueprint, and I'm going to drag that to my content folder. Move here. That way the animations and the animation blueprint are separate. Right click inside the animation blueprint folder, go down to the animation tab and choose animation blueprint. Get that? It's going to ask you, what kind of animation is this going to be. You can choose an animation instance. That's what it's going to be by default. And then I'm going to use the skeleton for the elf dude. Hit OK. I'll call this elf dude. I don't know. I'll say elf animation BP. Good enough. So we'll have that. We'll go back into this in just a minute. Let's go ahead and right click. We'll make a new piece. Go down to animation. We'll go down to blend space 1D. So that's one dimension. And I will do the elf blind pose. I'll just call this idle walk. Open that up. This is all pretty straightforward. We have a graph here. This is a linear graph from 0 to some value. Let me hit my asset tab, open that up. To the left here, we're looking for axis settings. Man, I can't speak today. For the name of the value down here, this is going to be speed. So our character is going to update his animation for walking if he's in motion. If he's not moving, he'll be idle. If he is moving, he'll be walking. So I'm going to drag my idle animation all the way to 0. Grab my walk animation, drag that to 100. And if I hold down the shift key and move my mouse, you'll see if I go from here to here, he starts to walk. And if I go back down, it goes back to idle. Fancy. Now this walk speed should be the character's actual walking speed. So we're going to have a run animation and a walk animation. So right now I'm going to actually dial this down. I'm going to put this as a max value of 600. That's our run speed. So I'm going to actually want this to be somewhere around where 300 is, which is in the middle. So I'm going to drag that to 300. So if I get to 300, I'm good. If I go above 300, since there's nothing out here, it'll just stay there. When we add our run, you'll see him jump into the run animation. Save it. I don't need these little puppets. Get rid of them. Open up the animation blueprint. Thankfully, Unreal is not as crashy as Maya. I'm going to go over to the event graph here. And depending on what version of Unreal you're in, you may have these in here by default, because we almost always use these. This one is try get pawn owner, which is great because it looks for the current pawn in possession. And then this is, of course, our tick that updates our animation. From here, we do want to figure out who we're talking to. So if you have more than one character, you should do a cast to. From here, I'm going to actually do an is valid. So off of the blue, I'm going to do is valid. The one with the question mark. This is going to validate whatever we're looking at, make sure it's him. And then from our character, we're going to get his speed and all that stuff. Since I know eventually we're going to actually talk to him, I'm going to do a cast to. So off of here, let's do cast to. And this is going to be elf. I've noticed that being a bit of a bug. Let's go ahead and just save real quick. And let's do this. Let's go into the elf here. We'll cast to himself. Cast to elf. Because he can see himself, so we're just going to grab that. And I'm going to copy it. Come into here. And I will paste it in. And you'll see that now that I pasted it in, I can cast to it. I don't know why that is. Sometimes it doesn't update right away. But if you ever have that, just go to the parent blueprint, the parent blueprint of whatever, and it is cast to itself, and then do that. Anyway, we're going to cast to it. Pink. Now the object could be whatever the character is. I'm going to actually use the try get pawn owner for that, and then I'm going to pass this to that. Compile it. Make sure that's good. And the reason I did this is there's going to be variables inside the elf that I need to get. This try pawn owner will not have those variables, but the elf actually will have those. From here, we need to have the elf's velocity, so we'll say get velocity. And then off of the velocity, we want to know exactly how fast we are. But the velocity is a vector, so we need to convert that to a floating point. It's easy enough. We'll just drag that off and do get length. Sorry, we don't have to do. We don't type get for this one. I don't know why they did that. It's just called vector length. And then it is vector length. So it converts the vector value into a float. And this is going to be our speed value. So I'm going to promote to variable. Sorry if that was quick. If I pull off that line, it's promote to variable. Plug in the valid key to there. We'll rename that speed. Compile it. I'm going to pass that value. So now we get the elf's actual movement speed. We'll pass it into here. If you don't know exactly where that's at, I just hit the tab for the animation graph. From the little person thing, I'm going to right click. I'm going to do state machine. So state machine. Add new state machine. Plug it in. You can name it if you like. I'm just going to remove the new. Just leave it as state machine for now. Double click it. We have an entry. So the entry is always the starting point. This is going to be our idle walk. So drag that off. You can create a conduit or a state. Conduits are good for multiple animations that root from a specific point. But for now, I'll just do a state. And we'll do this as idle walk. Open that up. We have a new output pose. I'll go to my asset browser down here. Now I could just plug in my walk animation, but since we created this that transitions, our little blend space, I'm going to drag that one in instead. Plug it in. And it needs to know that speed value that we created, so I'm going to drag in my speed value. Just plug it in on there. And away we go. That's it. Hit compile, save it. And all we have to do now is tell the elf to talk to the blueprint. So go to the elf. I will select the mesh. And then to the right, we have an animation class. The drop down, and we called this elf anim blueprint. So there it is, elf anim blueprint. Compile, save it. So let's walk around with our elf. To do that, we need a couple more pieces. And I could just drag him in, and if I hit simulate, he'll do his job, right? You can see as he's breathing, the hair's moving. That's cool. Even that little hoodie's moving, look at that. But we can't use him just yet. Let's go ahead and delete him off. Let's add in all the movement stuff. Let's make a new folder. This is going to be system. That's in our blueprints. So blueprints, system, go ahead and right click. We'll make a new blueprint class. Let's go down to a game mode base. We'll call this elf game. And then for the blueprints, For this thing, what do we need? Anything else? No, we're good enough. We'll open that. In here, we're looking for pawn class, so default pawn class. We'll change that to elf. Compile it. Close that one. Let's go to edit, project settings. Scroll down to maps and modes. For the game mode base, we'll change it to the ALF game. In the drop down, just make sure that the ALF is there. And then we'll go down to input. We'll add in our action map. This one's going to be for jumping. We don't have jump yet, but we'll make it. So jump. Usual suspects, we'll change this to spacebar. And then under axis map for our movement, we'll have move forward. That'll be the W key. And then with the little plus sign right here. The S key for moving backward. That'll be a negative value. Next one. Move right. So to the right is D. Grab the D key. And then A for the left. A will be negative. I'm going to turn the camera, so I'll say, I'll call this camera look up. You can name these whatever you like. This is going to be the mouse Y. Add a new one there. This will be camera look right. That'll be mouse X. Controls are in. Inside of our character, I don't need the cast to, but I will make my buttons. So this is move right. Get the event. I'll get move forward. So from these, put in a little bubble here. I'll do a C key. Call this I don't know, movement. Right click, we'll do add movement input. Need two of those. Okay, plug that in. We need to know some things about our character's movement, specifically the rotation of our character. Let's move this down. Go ahead and right click, say get control rotations. From the control rotation, right click on it, I will split the struct 10. Off the Z value, we're going to make rotation, so make rotator. This always comes in incorrect, so we'll break the X value, plug that in. Make some room here. Off of this, let's go ahead and do the forward vector. So plug that into the top one. This one will be the right vector. That'll be the world direction on the bottom one. Move right, we'll plug into there. And then the axis value plugs right in, plug right in. So that should move when we hit play. Hey, we're inside the character and we can move. Talk about a first-person view. Look at that. That's crazy. Let's get our camera movement left and right. Click in, press the C key, call this camera. I'll just type in camera to get my inputs, my look up, and then camera look right. These are going to be the yaw and pitch, so I'll type in YAW for yaw. Add controller yaw input, plug it in. And actually this one goes on to the left and right, so I'll plug it there. This one's going to get the pitch input, so pitch, add controller pitch, and green to green. We do not want this to control that one. Let's go ahead and right click and break that link. For the camera, let's actually add a camera. So here's the character. And we'll select the character up here. We'll add a spring arm, so spring arm. It'll give him a little bit of a red line out of his butt. It's okay. Type in camera. This should attach to the spring arm. I'm going to raise this up just a tad. And then down here, make sure we check use pawn control rotations. Now, be aware that I move the spring arm, not the camera. If you move the camera, you'll get dizzy. Trust me. Okay, so here's our camera. And if I move, here's the elf. My aim is inverted, which is, that's dizzying. I gotta fix that. So I'm one who likes inverted aim, so I'm gonna come into here, and I'm just gonna do this through math. So off the axis value, I'm going to do float times float, so hit the times button. Float times float, plug it in. This will be -1. This is only if you want inverted aim. I have to have it. I'll get dizzy if I don't have inverted aim. Okay. Better. And if I stop, I stop. Look at that. I don't have jump in yet, but it's okay. In the next tutorial, we'll look at creating the actual jump animation, and then we will do one on the actual jumping. Okay, I will see you in the next one. Hey guys, thanks for checking out my channel. Misty and I both thank you. If you've enjoyed the video you just watched, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Also, if you have any comments or suggestions for future videos, make sure you leave them down in the comments. I upload new content every Sunday, and I release content every Wednesday. Also, if you'd like to support the channel, I do have a Patreon. Get content early. I also have official merch, Lame Duck Studio merch. It does exist. They do exist. So make sure you stick around for anything new, and I will see you next time.